Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. Really glad you had a good time. But could you please tell me whose idea it was to bring bags of sparkles to the staff New Year's party? Yeah, I've been picking out of my teeth for like 4 days. It's like sparkles. The scourge of mankind, sparkles. Yeah. Anyway, hey, welcome to a brand new year. Happy New Year. Season 5, episode 1 of Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. Still fueled by Gales Gas Bars and supported by Verge Insurance Group. Ace Alignment, powered by WeeStreem, housed as usual in our lovely Fiddler's Poorhouse at 149 St. Paul Street, St. Catharines, and there are your lovely specials. We got your $18 hangover burger. We need that. $10 poutine, 75-cent wings, $16 PBR pitchers, $9 doubles, $4 pickle shots, and a whole slate of new stuff for 2024. Now, we're experimenting with a brand new look for 2024 here on Niagara 411 Live with Sterry, and we're going to be telling you more about that as the show progresses. It's really exciting because we're not really sure how it's going to work. It might be a raging success, it may be a dismal failure. That's what we're here to find out. And we're going to be back in just a little bit. Oh, yes, the big boom. We're going to talk about this year, a couple things that have happened this year, or just toward the end of 2023. And then we're going to do our Niagara's 2023 year in review of Niagara 411 Live with Sterry, and that's coming up in about 30 seconds. So buckle in, tune in, and we'll fill you in just a little bit. Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our new look, and we're going to be talking about that in just a second. In that little subsquare in your screen is our executive producer, co-founder of WeeStreem, and the founder of this program. Ladies and gentlemen, for 2024, Kevin Jack. Hey, Kev, how you doing?
Doing very well, and Happy New Year to you and yours as well, Lee, as we ring in 2024 with a new look. We got vertical video here on Niagara 411
Yeah, so let's
Live.
talk a little bit about that so that people know what they're looking at and they're not sort of, as they used to say back in the old days, I remember back in the 50s when the screen would fill with snow and please do not adjust your sets. This is just a test. Well, this is kind of what we're doing. This is kind of a test. So with this new look, we'll turn it over to our technical expert, Kevin Jack. Kevin, what are we doing here today?
All we're doing is we're flipping the phone, basically, right?
All right.
We grew up watching TV like this. Well, actually, we grew up watching TV like 4:3 ratio, right? The old sets. Then they went to the widescreen, which is commonly known as 16:9.
Right.
But then know what happened? The Instagram and the TikTok started to take over, and if you see any of those videos, they're like that.
Uh-huh.
That's vertical video.
Yeah.
So just said, hey, you know what? For 2024, let's freshen things up and see if we can squeeze what we used to do in a 16:9 into a 9:16. So that's why you're skinny and tall, and all the graphics are in new places and things like that. But you'll notice that it fills your screen differently. So now instead of watching 411 Live like this, you can watch it like this.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to know what people think. If they like watching the show in vertical video, or if they enjoyed watching it maybe on their bigger sets.
Yeah.
If you go home and watch this on a TV or a tablet or something like that, it's just going to be skinny, right? It'll be skinny up and down in the middle.
Anything that makes me skinny, I'm all for.
And for the first time, Lee, we are broadcasting live on Instagram. So we're pretty excited about that. You can find that on Instagram. And hello, Instagram, if people are watching over there. I mean, we'll check the feeds after and see how we're doing.
So,
we're not live on Niagara 411 on Instagram. We just wanted to kind of do a pilot here this week and hopefully next week. I mean, there's 35,000 followers on Instagram for Niagara 411. So hopefully we'll bring the live program to Instagram, where we've never been before, and reach a whole brand new audience, not just for us, for our sponsors as well.
Okay. Thank you for that sort of really quick thumbnail sketch, but I want to rewind just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I want to dumb it down to where people like me live. Why, from a layman's point of view like me, layman is just a modern word for idiot. So, and from layman's terms like me, what is it that precipitated the fact that we're going to give this vertical style video a try? What's the genesis of this? Where's the germination of this concept?
It really just has more to do with how popular vertical video is becoming, how popular some of the platforms that rely solely on vertical video and video photos.
So it didn't start with us.
Oh, no, no.
The genesis comes from platforms like Instagram.
It's the kids.
Okay.
But I mean, even like Niagara 411, this is a vertical scroller.
Right.
Right? And a lot of times our videos come in. I mean, look, there we are right there.
Right.
Okay, there we are.
Yeah.
About 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So see, as you scroll, everything is that way. Everything is vertical.
Because that's the way we use our phones.
Right, but then we get to a video. Like here, I'll see if I find one of our old videos. Oh, this is fun. Scrolling through Kevin's phone.
I get you. So basically,
so there you go. That's
that, ladies and gentlemen. What you look.
That's our screen there.
That was our last show of 2023.
And in order to see it,
right,
you go full screen, and then you have to turn it to get it to actually fill your screen.
Right. And,
so to keep
and people don't really like to do that.
Exactly.
Now, I know one of the things that would happen is if we're watching videos on social media platforms, etc., and people are doing the vertical thing like this, you've got a narrow video with the black bars, which is a little bit like what we're seeing on our screen right now, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, but you can't turn this one sideways and fill up the screen.
No, sir.
Like you could before.
No,
this is kind of a different concept.
Yeah.
All right.
So
so we're trying it, and like Kevin said, we don't know how this is going to flesh out as far as how popular it is with viewers or followers or streaming lookers or whatever, and nor does really Instagram. But I can bet that platforms like Instagram and Facebook and these have done enough due diligence, have not done enough research to realize that their people are just, when they're taking a video, they're just going to do this. That's what they're going to do. And they're not going to take time to fill a screen and pretend that they're Orson Welles making a film. They're just going to do this, right?
I mean, if you think about TikTok, right, which is just absolutely blazed a storm through social media,
there's a good example right there.
All of that is vertical video.
Yeah.
So, and Instagram also, from a tech point of view and behind the scenes, they just allowed companies like ours third-party production software to stream into Instagram. That only happened about 10, 12 days ago. So this is absolutely brand new.
This is brand new stuff, state of the art.
Yeah.
And there is no company, no show, no thing that we can think of that is actually taking this leap to do this with a production until now with us at Niagara 411 Live. So you're seeing something brand new that is also building on something that was new just recently. And I guess, Kevin, that is a thing that we realize as we go from social media and technology, et cetera, over the last 24 months, 12 months in particular, that I've learned is the fact that our rate of progress in this stuff, our rate of change, maybe it's not progress for some. You might not call it progress, but it is certainly change. The rate of change in how we consume our information is mind-boggling. And we're just trying to keep up and maybe even blaze a trail or two. So kudos to you, Kevin, for giving this a shot, and we'll see how it works. And as Kevin said, please let us know from your perspective, viewing this program, what you think. Speaking of viewing, we'll do a little bit of shameless self-promotion here before we go on. We did 27 shows in 2023. We took a weekly show and we turned it into a bi-weekly show, and we had 1.67, can we say it out loud, million hits. 1.67 million people saw this program, Niagara 411 Live, in 2023. And that is cutting our frequency of the shows in half. Up until 2023, we were doing it on a weekly basis and still reaching 2 million people. We did it on a bi-weekly basis this year and are reaching 1.67 million. Well done, Kev.
Yeah, and to you as well, Lee. And we do have one advertising slot available. So if you're owner of a business or you know somebody who does and they're looking to reach people in Niagara, you're not going to find better value for your advertising dollar than right here. Like Lee said, 1.67 million. That skews female, just so you know. And 95% of the audience, maybe 98% of the audience is right here in Niagara.
And that is precisely our goal. It is called Niagara 411 Live. We have focused our content on Niagara. At sometimes we have stepped our toe outside the regional boundaries of Niagara only because there is some Niagara impact or big interest in the stories that we do. And to bring that full circle, probably before we do this 2023 retrospective, we're going to do Niagara's biggest of 2023 from here on the program. We'll start with the most recent, if you want to call it current, brouhaha, and then we'll start back in January of 23 and move on through. But the most recent thing that got our attention over the holidays was this massive sound of an explosion, like boom. Now it says explosion sound in Welland, but people heard it all over the place. Some people up and down the canal on Wednesday, December 27th at about, what does that say, Kevin? 9:16, 9:15
Yeah, 9:15
p.m.
at night.
Yeah, Welland Pelham information officers, uniform officers from the NRPS responded to a report of an explosion in Welland. Officers initially attended the area of Burger Street. I can't.
Yeah, that's Burger Street Park. Sorry, guys, with the vertical video as well.
Sometimes the font is a little small.
I'll try and fill it in.
Anyway,
for you.
there were all kinds of reports. What it boils down to is there was this massive sound of an explosion. We wouldn't call it a massive explosion because we're not quite sure what it was, but people were reporting hearing it here, hither and yon throughout Niagara. Some people were along the Welland Canal and heard it. And to my knowledge, Kevin, we still really do not know what this was.
We don't. And I mean, the story kind of leads itself or lends itself to that officers, I mean, they attended Burger Street Park, then they went to Harrison Avenue and Gladys Avenue.
Yeah.
Found a couple of people who captured video footage of a red or orange flash,
and
followed by a boom or explosion.
Yeah, there was one video that I saw that mainly what we saw wasn't that interesting, but what we heard was, because this fellow was taking a video along the Welland Canal, and all of a sudden you heard this bam, and the camera shakes because it scared them, understandably so, and that's just
so here
crazy.
we go. So Aaron Upstell
okay
submitted this video, and this looks like to be her security camera footage.
Yeah, so
let's see if we can hear
can
this.
we hear that? I mean, there's nothing to see, but
It's coming.
okay. There it is right there. Okay, so there's nothing. It's a security camera, so you just got ambient noise in the background, and then boom. It's crazy.
Here it goes.
Okay. Oh, that's going to get your attention. So that is the first unsolved mystery of the year.
Yeah,
Now, of course, it happened in 2023, but we still haven't solved the mystery as we sit here in 2024.
I'm looking for the original post here on 411 because I mean it was crazy. So that's into Thursday. Here you go. Large bangs reported in downtown. Well, look at 1.8 thousand comments. And I, like a lot of people, I was at home. My in-laws live in Welland, live in some of the areas that it was reported, but pretty much every area in Welland at some point, people were saying that their houses shook, that their windows rattled.
Now, I'm in the north end of St. Catharines, but we didn't, as I remember, I mean, we were home on the 27th, but as I remember, I did not hear it. December 27th, 9-ish at night, we were probably actually being really boring and watching television. I think that's what my wife and I were doing at that time on December the 27th, is just watching TV. But but we still don't know what it is. As per usual, you can feel free to join this program at any time. So it's live, and it is yours, and feel free to join our Zoom link at any time. So that is probably the big story in Niagara that is lingering, that is transferring that from 23 over into 2024, because we really don't know what is going on. We do have one guest coming up in the program. I want to talk to you about this too, because this is going to be important for those people that were interested in the story that an ion battery was the cause of a fire in downtown St. Catharines late in 2023. It was the result of an ion battery. Now that got people's attention because we all have these. We have phone chargers, we have laptop chargers, we have computer stuff and things, and all kinds of rechargeable ion style batteries. We don't want to think that one of these things could start a fire in our house or in our car or whatever. So coming up, we have a gentleman who really knows his stuff. His name is Saeed Ismail, and he is, now I want to read this because I want to make sure that I get this right. He is an electrical forensic engineer. Now, how cool is that? You could build a TV show about that. CSI Electrical Forensic Engineer episode. And on top of that, a fire investigator. So we have Saeed Ismail, electrical forensic engineer, and a fire investigator coming on the program at about 1:15 today. And that's a picture of the fire that occurred in downtown St. Catharines as a result of this so-called ion battery caused fire. And it's not just this one. There's another related story. Didn't happen here, but a related story. This happened on the TTC. And it was a fire created in an e-bike from a similar type thing. So I'm interested in really hearing what this gentleman has to say. And when you have a title like an electrical forensic engineer and a fire investigator, this guy should be able to tell us what we want to know. And he'll be coming up at about 1:15. Kevin, we did a lot of things in 2023.
Oh, yeah. Lee, sorry, just before we get to that, I wanted to draw your attention. There's the TTC fire.
Oh, yeah.
That
was caused by an e-bike.
By an e-bike. And even though it wasn't in the official press release from the fire investigators here in St. Catharines, all the comments, people seem to indicate that it was an e-bike in that apartment fire in downtown St. Catharines as well. That photo we just showed you. So,
Oh.
what's that deadly
Okay.
combination?
Now that's
of,
that you just illuminated me. Pardon the pun. To something I had not heard before. I didn't realize that it was an e-bike here too.
Well, not officially, but those are what the comments alluded to. That think it was an e-bike, and it has to do with
Okay.
the combination of like off-brand batteries and maybe chargers that aren't suited. And I don't know exactly what
All right.
happened in the TTC.
Well, this is good information because most of us go through life completely oblivious to what our devices are doing while we're using them, or more importantly, while we're not using them. And it would be kind of nice to know what those devices are doing. Oh, this is a complete aside. Speaking of devices and cyber stuff and things we don't know, I watched a movie last night on Netflix.
Uh-oh.
It was called Leave the World Behind. Julia Roberts, Ethan Hawke, Kevin Bacon. So decent, but it was about what happens when there is a massive cyber attack on our society. It was kind of lighthearted, kind of traditional horror stuff, but there was sort of a hidden, scary undertone to this movie as to how dependent we are on technology and what happens when we no longer have control of it and someone else takes control of it. As the Chinese have been threatening for years, the secret police have been telling us, like CIA and CSI and all that, have been saying, these, as they say, other actors, other characters, could be plotting to take over our planet via cyber means. And this movie was a real eye-opener, let me tell you, when it came to what the possibilities are. And with the life of AI and robotics increasing around us, Kevin, I think 2024 is going to be a real technology knowledge-based, or technology lack of knowledge-based year. I really think technology is going stratosphere.
Yeah, over the holidays, did you have any AI conversations? I mean, we had a couple.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, but what is this thing? And
Well,
what
hey,
exactly
I
does
live-
it mean? And a bunch of amateurs like ourselves trying to explain what it is and what it means, and of course, we have no clue.
My business. I'm a voiceover artist, voice actor. I narrate audiobooks. I'm a live voice actor in my business. I have a studio in my home. It's my full-time work, and this is part of what I do along with Kevin. And it is probably the biggest topic in my industry as far as people that use their voices for a living. In other words, to do commercials, narrate Nova shows or Ancient Aliens or any of those programs that you see on the History Channel, the commercials you listen to on the radio and television, people that do speaking for a living, audiobooks, big deal now. Not a lot of people are actually reading, a lot of people are listening, thank goodness, because that's part of what I do to make a living. But one of the biggest threats to our industry is AI. Because these producers and these scientists are taking voices like mine and voices like others and getting them they're putting this stuff together. And you can go onto YouTube and just do AI, and there are all kinds of instructional videos that are voices that are not human. They might have started out to be human, but they have been massaged into sentences that give you the information without a real person being behind the voice. So it's a big deal in my business. And it's also a big deal in the writer's business. It was one of the things that you remember when the writers and the producers, et cetera, went on strike in Hollywood. One of the big things that they were negotiating with the heads of the studios down there is the fact that they wanted the studios to make sure that they limited the use of AI when it came to, that stands for artificial intelligence, by the way, which a lot of us have anyway, but the fact being that they're using artificial intelligence now even to write plots, to write novels, to write scripts. And while it's in its infancy right now, and they're very rudimentary, So you can probably tell the difference. This is an area, along with robotics, that is going to be refined more and more and more over time, to the point where what Kevin and I are doing right now, you may look at it and say these are real people, and maybe they're not. Right now, for the moment at least, we are.
Yeah, my sister put on a little display for us over Christmas about ChatGPT, right? Which is probably the most popular and the most accessible form of AI for us.
It's the most advanced right now.
So she just used it and said, okay, look, here's what we can do. And something along the lines of, write me a song about Winnipeg. And sure enough, in under 15 seconds, out came a song with verses and a chorus, with rhyming couplets, all about Winnipeg. And then she said, okay, make it shorter. So it made it shorter. And you could see that it changed words. There were some things that remained from the original song, but it was almost like they wrote something brand new. Okay, make it more religious. And all of a sudden, the song became about Winnipeg, but with some religious overtones or undertones.
Yes, it is. And it is absolutely mind-boggling, and we are going to have to embrace it in some form or be left behind, because we're not going to combat it. We're not going to defeat it. We're not going to stop it from developing because the genie is out of the bottle, boys and girls. So we better learn how to live alongside this technology, this new entity that is in our world, or we are going to be left far, far behind. You can't fight it. You can resist, and you can work with, and you can adapt, and you can modify, but we will not stop the march forward of technology and artificial intelligence that's in our world. It is here to stay, and even get bigger and bigger. So I believe that that is an awakening that will be tantamount to what we learn in 2024. Just the tip of the iceberg. It's terrifying, but it's also exciting at the same time. So if we decide to take in my opinion, just my humble opinion, if we decide to take the position that it's exciting, I think we'll do fine. You'll do fine. We'll all do fine, because we will work with and embrace it. If we take the position of fear and resistance, we will be left behind. I will be, you will be, we will be left behind if we don't get with it. And that is, or try to keep up with it. To try to keep up with it, as general run-of-the-mill folks living a day-to-day life, it'll be pretty damn tough for us to actually keep up with it. The least we can do is just try. And I think it's going to be an interesting, really interesting, intelligence-filled year. And that is one of the things that we were thinking about, Kevin was thinking about, when we went into this sort of new look Niagara 411 Live with Sterry for 2024. Because if we keep doing the same old, well, pretty soon we'll just be old. And then we'll be done, and we'll pack up our toys and go home. And the sandbox will get covered over, and that'll be it for the day. But that's not what we want to do. So I realize that sounds a little bit like a sermon from the Mount, but isn't that a little bit what 2024, isn't that a little bit what a new year is supposed to be? Yeah, we reminisce, which we're going to do here in just a minute or so as we get to Niagara's 2023 in the rear view, in just a year in review in just a minute. But you cannot go into a new year without looking forward and trying to figure out how you're going to adapt to what's going on. And there's a lot going on.
Now, Lee, you want to talk about technology, the good, and sorry, didn't talk about this before we got on the air, but just looking back to Christmas, and for the last 3 years, our children have woken up on Christmas morning, and of course Santa brings some gifts in the run of the tree, and they realize that, hold on, we've got security cameras in the house.
Yeah.
So wondered whether or not our security cameras actually caught Santa.
Right.
And for the last 2 years, absolutely, they caught him. And this year, the kids wanted to get a little clever, so they moved one of the cameras and positioned it a little closer to the tree.
These are your kids?
Yeah, these are my kids.
Alex and Alex?
Yeah, Alex and Ayla. So Alex is 8 and Ayla is 10.
Okay.
And boy, oh boy, did they get Saint Nick this year. So I wanted to share.
Santa Claus?
Yeah, I want to share this video with you here.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So here we go, Lee. That is our family room.
That's not vertical video.
Did you see that?
Wow.
Here, I'll show you.
He just hopped into the scene.
Yeah, look at this.
Look.
Boom.
Wow.
I would have just let the three, Frank's the youngest.
So that's Santa,
Wow.
in our family room. So you can only imagine just how amazed our kids were to once again catch him.
Oh, man.
And it looks like he just came in through the ceiling, but I mean that's Santa's magic, right? We had all kinds of
Well,
stuff.
he appears.
fluttering. Yeah.
Well, you talk about technology. Santa has to have increased technology too, right?
So here he goes. He's pulling a couple of gifts, for Ayla and Alex out of the sack.
Okay.
But then when the kids woke up, there were some big gifts and this giant remote control monster truck. And the kids wondered how he fit it in his bag or got it down the chimney. Well, look at this. Look at this Santa magic. Boom.
Wow.
Yep, and 2 more gifts as well.
I'm all tingly. I got the whole Christmas feeling all over again here.
Yeah, I mean, this is him just in our family room, and our kids are just guffawed. They talk about it at school. The children's teachers had to send in the video from last year because they were talking about it so much. But there's another one, and now at the end, he's got a skateboard. Watch, you'll see this. A skateboard just appears in Santa's hand. There it is.
Wow.
I know.
There is the true magic of Christmas right there.
Oh, man.
Isn't that awesome? And that happened in the Jack household?
Yeah.
Wow.
And here he goes. He goes around. He goes down to the hallway because the kids have stockings
Looks
outside.
like he's casing the joint, stealing jewelry or
Hey,
something.
now, well, hold on. So he comes back. He comes back, and then you guys, you don't have Elf on a Shelf. You didn't grow up with that with the kids, but our kids have the Elf on the Shelf. And the elf returns to the North Pole when Santa arrives on Christmas Eve night. So here he is. He's getting Chippy. That's the name of my children's elf.
He's taking the elf?
Yeah, taking the elf right there.
Oh, look at that.
Got him for safekeeping.
Look at that.
Grabs his bag, and as quickly as he came.
Wow. Now
Gone.
that right there is a reason to have a home security camera. That's phenomenal. I'll bet Santa might not have been too happy about you guys spying on him like that. Have you heard any? Well, he wouldn't have talked to you about it probably.
No, but Chippy's there, right? And Chippy's reporting every night back to the North Pole.
Wow.
So that's why we were a little worried when the kids were devising their plan. We're like, well, Chippy's going to tell Santa, and Santa's going to know that you kind of set up a video trap for him. But once again, they got him.
That's a surprise for me because, like you said, Kevin didn't tell me that he had a Santa video to put up on the show today. Or I'd have promoted that right at the beginning of the show. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool for the kids.
That is pretty cool. Okay, so here we are. Brand new year. We've done a little bit of crystal balling. We've done a little bit of looking back over the last couple of weeks, over the holidays, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And again, they were pretty disturbing pictures, those fires. We have Saeed Ishmael coming on at about 1:15 today, who is an electrical forensic engineer and a fire investigator, to talk about these iron batteries, electric battery fire things that happened. One in St. Catharines on St. Paul Street in an apartment, and another in the TTC, that are both allegedly connected to an e-bike battery malfunction. But we're not 100% sure on that. We don't really know. But we're going to find out that information. Are we ready to start the year in review here, Kev? All right, Niagara's 2023 year in review. We're going to go back to January right now. And you might remember the fact that there was a really cool story about a Clydesdale horse that was rescued in Pelham by Regional Towing. And it was a great interview. Are we going to play some of this, Kev?
Yeah, sure. Here we go.
Tow truck in there. The tow truck itself would have got stuck. This
Right,
just
sure.
would have stressed the animal more. So on my fleet, we have something called a Can-Am Maverick. It's the utility-built off-road vehicle, and it basically can go in and out of anything, and it's very light. So I didn't have it on scene at this point, but I quickly called into my dispatch, and they had it out to me within 20 minutes.
Okay.
So we had to take some of the paddock down, some of the fencing down.
And that's
But
this.
as you
That's
can-
this. We're showing this thing on the screen right now that looks a little bit like a Roadster, and it's sort of a lime green color.
That's the machine. I bought that machine specifically for when police, law enforcement calls us to get a vehicle out of some deep bush or stuck in some deep mud. I said this is an excellent opportunity to use this for this animal.
All right, off you go. Tell us the rest.
So we took down the fence. I had my my worker come in, Reinhold Week. He came in, he drove it slowly, and now we had to figure out a way, because this animal's weighing close to 2,000 pounds. We just don't want to yank on it, hurt its limbs, hurt its ligaments. So we got a very soft rope, and we attached it to its hind quarters. But down towards the leg, closer to the hoof, we cinched it, not too tight, but with a special kind of knot that I'd like to call it a choker knot,
Yeah.
where it doesn't slip, but it doesn't hurt the animal.
Okay.
Once it was tied up to its hind quarters, we hooked it up to our Can-Am buggy, and Reinhold, under my direction, carefully drove it out and out of this quagmire that was in, out of this soup of quicksand, up to higher ground where it was dry. The only way we could save this horse was to move it to a place where it could eventually stand on its own.
Wasn't that fascinating? Yeah, because when we and that video, that interview was so popular that I think Joe ended up to be a regular advertiser on Niagara 411 with Nick, and it was so popular. What a wonderful job that they did to look after that animal. Our hearts were kind of in our mouths when we were watching that. So that's pretty awesome. And also, before I go any further, I want to thank Nick of Niagara 411 for all of the cooperation and sharing of information over the past year, and wish you a very happy new year. Hardest working man in news and infotainment probably in Niagara, and to Nick's mom, a very happy new year to you. To our sponsors, Gale's Gas Bars, we're so happy to have you coming with us again in Season 5 as we kick this Episode 1 of Season 5 underway. And Verge Insurance Group for all of Niagara's insurance needs, home, auto, business. Verge Insurance Group, insurance brokers here in Niagara, and to Ace Alignment, who were new advertisers in 2023, the last half of the year. Thank you, Janice Purdy, and your staff for your loyalty and sticking with us, and probably for a while, we hope, here in 2024. Thank you very much for staying with us. For all of your automotive needs, alignment and Ministry of Transportation needs, etc., for at Ace Alignment on North Street in St. Catharines, right behind the new cop shop at the corner of Geneva and Welland. Okay, now this was the other big story that came along in early part of the year. This is February's big story. This was the Welland condo collapse. And Kevin, this video was viewed thousands and thousands of times. Our interview, our piece on this was viewed thousands and thousands of times. A high-end condo complex built along Prince Charles Drive area in Welland, Ontario, just all of a sudden in the night collapsed. A whole section of it just, as if somebody just went, it came down. And I don't know how many times you can watch that before you get tired of it. But we were watching, all of Niagara was mesmerized by that. And what a beautiful area, what a beautiful complex. Multi-million-dollar complex. People had already purchased units prior to that thing being completed. They were waiting to move in when it was completed. And then this. Ooh. And if I'm not mistaken, Kevin, it was just 2 weeks ago on this program that we were informed that new permits had been issued to the same contractors, the same builders, to proceed with demolition and reconstruction and completion of that project. Hopefully this February, we don't have a similar type story to report as we did this past February.
Yeah, Lee, if you remember, the condo actually collapsed on 2 separate occasions, right? It had
there
the
were 2
one
of them,
collapse,
yes.
and then about a week later, another big
Yeah.
section of it collapsed as well. And I mean, still, that
We still haven't had any reach out. We still haven't had any explanation as to what happened, why it happened, what due diligence has been done before the new permits were issued, what kind of accountability has been and is in place, if any, for any further problems. It's one of those stories that continues to be enveloped in kind of a murky shroud of disinformation. Not misinformation, because there hasn't been any. It's non-information on what's really going on. And I believe still that there is some accountability, not only on the contractor, but there is some accountability, yes, on our politicians and the city of Welland, as well as our regional government. And who else might have a hand in, or a dollar in, or some responsibility for this complex in Welland? It's going forward. New permits issued, that's all we know. Hopefully it's one of those things in 2024. I talked about things to expect in 2024, and frankly, I don't expect this, but I would be hopeful that there would be some concept of transparency. That's a word I hate because everybody uses it and nobody does it, but I'll use it again, transparency and full disclosure of issues, not just this one, but issues like this, saying, okay, this happened. Here's why it happened. Here's what we're doing about it. And here's how we're going to measure how we go forward. This is very simple. It's a very simple concept, but it seems like it's getting more and more difficult to exercise due diligence on these concepts. Okay, so that was the biggie in February. Where are we going now in March? We didn't have a really massive story. We had Jazz of the Vicious, also in February. This was just a great story. Kevin brought this to my attention, actually. Jasmine Jazz of the Vicious. I call her Jazz the Vicious because that is a pretty close moniker. She became the latest recruit of a UFC, the UFC organization, sanctioned group, and this was one of our first. We've talked to Jazz over the last few years, but our first conversation with her in 2023 was in February of last year, and she was just absolutely, if you might say, jazzed to have been recruited by Dana White and UFC.
Now, I gotta say, Lee, I mean, she's just charming.
She is.
I mean, is that the best word for it? You can't help but fall in love with her and root for her every time we speak to her. I mean, there she is there.
Yeah. I get it. That's fine.
But yeah, so how they do the scoring is like it's a 10 out of 10, and so if it's a close round, then it will be like one person will get a 9 and one person to get a 10. it's not very often that you get a 8 compared to a 10. That means that there was a big difference if you get an 8 versus 10 as opposed to a 9 versus 10. And the scoring system is really only 8, 9, and 10.
It's very slim.
So that's why it doesn't seem so much. But yeah.
There she goes. But as you said, just an engaging, warm human being that turns into an absolute tigress when she gets into that ring. And she took it up, just to give you a bit of background as a reminder, she took it up because her boyfriend was sort of a gym rat and a UFC fighter and was training for that. She said, I might like to do that. And man, she went off the charts. And then later in the year, we talked to her as well. We might hook up with her again. But she went, I think over the course of the year, Kevin, she went 3-1 as a UFC roster fighter.
I think she improved to 3-1, and I'll have to Google her name to see what's up next for Jazz.
Yeah,
because these UFC events seem to happen weekly, and they're up to UFC 314 or wherever they're at now. But whenever she's in the ring, I go out of my way to watch and cheer for her, and it always makes me blush when I hear the big announcers say from or representing St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, picked by the big cheese in mixed martial arts, Dana White of UFC, to be part of his team and part of that group. That just it's like hitting the lottery, man. But she worked, but it was more than just buying a ticket. She worked hard to get there, man. All right, one of the other local stories was a gentleman by the name of James Russell. Out of Niagara on the Lake. There's a development and other things going on. Niagara on the Lake is always a bit of a hotbed of controversy when it comes to land use and development and what goes on there. It has been for a long, long time for various and sundry reasons. Well, in this case, there is and we use this word because that's what James called it, and that's what the culture refers to it as a Negro burial site in Niagara on the Lake. That was in danger, I guess, for the lack of a better phrase, of being not only ignored but disrupted, and James Russell became an active opponent to this initiative, and he went on a hunger strike, tied himself to a tree in the site. This is James.
The town has steadfastly refused. When I began my hunger strike on Monday, this last Monday, the mayor did actually come out and sat with me and spent a half an hour explaining that the town of Niagara on the Lake is too poor to afford the $59,000 that it will take to unearth the headstones.
Okay, wait, let me interrupt you here, James, if I may. So the mayor, the Lord Mayor of the town of Niagara on the Lake came out and to see you.
Yes.
When you were shackled to the site.
Yes.
In protest.
Yes.
And the only thing he talked to you about was the city's budget?
Yes.
Do you not find that a little odd?
Not odd. I find it beyond disappointing. When I first discovered the Negro burial ground, I was saddened that the dead had been so disrespected. And then that sadness has now become anger. These folks traveled hundreds of miles, a lot on foot, at night, under the threat of death to a country they knew little or nothing about. And now they've been rendered anonymous.
Okay, James, help give us a little perspective here. And that was just a piece of the chat, of course, with James Russell, and that was the fact of in order to recognize those people appropriately, headstones needed to be reclaimed, if you will, and put back in place. And $59,000 is a drop in the bucket when you think about the numerous millions of dollars that we spend on things that, frankly, are probably of much less significance. But that was our April here on Niagara 411 Live with Lee Sterry. And again, I want to thank our sponsors. I want to go back and reiterate our sincere appreciation for Gales Gas Bars Limited, Jessica Friesen and her gang, who do amazing work here in Niagara. Have been fueling Niagara for all of its petroleum needs for the last 50 years plus, and probably for at least the next 50 or 150 going forward. Gales Gas Bars, locally owned and operated, and they give so much back. Yes, they have reaped benefits from operating a business in Niagara, no question. But what they give back has certainly justified whatever they bring in. And it's always a pleasure to acknowledge them as a sponsor of this program, because we feel it is such a wonderful fit for a program such as ours that is dedicated to news and information and entertainment around the Niagara region. Thank you, Gales. Verge Insurance, Mark Shirk, the owner, operator, founder, developer of Verge Insurance here in Niagara, has been probably the quietest, powerful sponsor behind this program. They go about their business every week doing what they do for Niagara, making sure that people get the best rates they can possibly get on home, car, and business insurance deals, and have not lifted one finger ever to interfere or object to anything that we do, and they've just been stalwart sponsors of us, and for that we really do appreciate their continued sponsorship. Verge Insurance, Janice Purdy and her group, the family has been through a tough year. They lost some family members, they lost people from the racing community that they were fond of, and it hasn't been one of the best years personally for people that are involved with this group, because we all have our personal challenges. So we want to send out our appreciation as well as condolences for the losses that some of the family members have suffered this year, but also much appreciation for continued support of this program on into 2024, specializing in wheel alignments and brakes and suspension and MTO motor vehicle inspection, and for whatever your vehicles you have and what ails them. Ace Alignment on North Street in St. Catharines. Big part of the racing community as well here through the various tracks in and around Niagara. So thank you very, very much. Kevin, I want to take this moment too before we continue to say how much of a pleasure it's been working with WeeStreem. We could go through another retrospective of 2023 of all of the various things that WeeStreem has done. The volleyball tournaments and the things on the Canadian Forces bases and all that this year. WeeStreem has had a big year.
Yeah, very much so. We continue to work with and support the Canadian military and our men and women stationed around the globe by live streaming some of their sports championships from CFP Borden and CFP Trenton and CFP Kingston, and haven't made it to Petawawa yet, but maybe that's on our list this year. We'll see. We love working with them and partnering with them. We've done work for Ontario Volleyball Association, and we've done work for a lot of the municipalities around Niagara. Coming up in, about 2 or 3 weeks, we will be live streaming the Sports Wall of Fame induction ceremony for the city of Niagara Falls.
Great.
And all I would do is encourage, I saw another headline there just a couple of days ago about one of the councillors in Welland describing the residents' engagement in, I think, the budget process as anemic. I would encourage any councillors, any municipality to look to WeeStreem and contact us to bring your events to the people rather than demanding that the people come to your events.
I was just going to say, and that was a wonderful way to that word, anemic, is just such a powerful word. It means, if you're going to do anemic equals, one would say weak, right? So if the public response or participation in the view of a politician or a council or any group is anemic, it means the response is weak. Now, do you put the blame on the public or do you put the blame on you for not reaching out in the proper way to the public to make sure that that response is the opposite of anemic? And you cannot, to go back to what Kevin just finished that sentence with, you cannot expect people, you, me, all of us, anybody, in this busy world that we live in this technological world, we went to bring it full circle to what we talked about off the top, technology and social media and platforms of AI and robotics and all of this stuff that we consume through different forms these days. The old days of throwing a rally and a bunch of people showing up in person, those days are gone. They are gone forever. You want to throw a rally? Throw it right here. Right there. That's where the people are going to be, and that's where WeeStreem is the cutting edge.
Yeah, we're the conduit.
On what you're going to do.
We're the conduit, and just so you know, we lay in the weeds. You know, just like this program, you don't see our logo anywhere. We're behind the scenes. So WeeStreem does not try to be a broadcasting platform. We're a production company, and we make other people look good. When we work for the Canadian military, people just think, oh, the Canadian military are streaming. When we work for municipalities, you'll just see, oh, the city of Niagara Falls is providing this stream. Well, the reality is they've partnered and hired a company like ours, and I would encourage other people to do the same in 2024. But as we look back on 2023,
here we go.
You talk about protest, and believe it or not, some people still do get together, but all of them have their phones out. And in, I think it was June, we were talking to Justin Preston. And again, I didn't reach out to Justin over the holidays. I know he was super busy with his Letters by Justin campaign, which is just incredible. If people don't know what we're talking about, just search Letters by Justin. The guy's doing incredible stuff for people all over the world.
I can't remember the thousands, but I think there was a post on the Facebook, Letters just of something like in his dining room, there's something like 5,000 envelopes and cards getting ready to go out to people that he does ostensibly on his own dime every year.
Yeah,
but
so we caught up with him in June about the drag queen story time.
Yes, and, there were a lot of protests. There was a lot of disinformation, as well as protests on both sides of the thing about the drag queen story time. Kevin and I found the whole thing rather inconsequential, but there were those that didn't, and that community suffered a lot of stress. So Justin Preston joined us to talk about it.
You know, for 10 years, I started a campaign called Rise Against Bullying, and being a national ambassador as well to Kids Help Phone, which has been a huge journey, being able to relate resources and tools for youth and adults. And you know, this past week, though, receiving threat messages, negative messages, you know, people's opinions, and I dedicated, and I was very silly, reading all of them, and spent some time just kind of down, you know, believing what people are saying, you know, and it really brings, like, it takes me back, like, 10 years of why I started this campaign, why I bring awareness, and why I use my voice to speak up for those that are voiceless, because if I'm able to face this battle and I guess have broad shoulders to kind of create a pathway for others in the younger generation for a smoother sail or a smoother path, it's really eye-opening, especially what has been said. And over reading a book, you know, The World Needs More Purple People, which is what I had read this Sunday at the Turtle Pottery Studio in Niagara Falls. And I was very nervous, very scared. I went through the back door, not expecting what was going to be happening. And I was very thankful that none of the protesters did show up. But that safety risk and fear, because I was reading a book with a room filled of people, with a sold-out event, with many parents and children that were there and that attended. And it really amazed me and kind of opened my eyes, because these young kids that were there had such a great experience, not only being able to paint a story based off of the book that I was reading, but even just, there was this 9-year-old girl that randomly out of nowhere, nothing was discussed, was just there to read a book, and she just turned to me and said, I don't understand why people can be so hateful in this world. I'd rather be in this room painting with you than being somewhere else in a room filled with hate. And I just looked at this 9-year-old going, wow, you're so much wiser than your age. And that was the moment that made me realize that, like, this world's really scary.
Yeah.
And especially being a face, being a person, being the one that is trying to make a difference as well. We are.
Okay. So that was basically the theme of that, and there was a lot of controversy over that issue in that month. So that's what that was June of 2023. That was also the month I was talking about Jasmine Jazz the Vicious. Jazz the Vicious, I love that. What a great name. That's my name for her, by the way. She doesn't call herself that. Anyway, that's the month also that she went to 3-1 in the UFC. So we're going to obviously hook up with her and catch up with what's going on with her in 2024. She's probably still looking for her next bout because she's been pretty popular. So there are probably a number of fighters in that realm that are looking for a chance to get to her, and she's probably looking for a chance to get to them, to move up. All right, July, unfortunately for this program, was a month of conversations with widows. It was a month of sadness. This was our conversation with Dave Norkitz, widowed. Dave died as a result of an industrial accident at Techna Forge.
As soon as I walked into that room and saw the police officer's face, I knew it was Dave, but I didn't think it had anything to do with work. I thought car accident in the hospital. So when they said it was because of work, and then after that, there's a lot I don't remember.
Yeah.
I would say that whole week is quite a blur for me.
Right.
But I do remember having to have them bring up my oldest, and I had to tell her, and it was awful.
You have two daughters, right?
Yes, I have an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Boy, that's got to be tough for teenage girls, not to mention yourself, to lose their dad at that young age.
Yeah.
Was Dave supposed to be working that day?
So normally he would often work Saturdays. He liked to make the extra money. He was really hard working, and he liked, take any shift. I don't know the details. This is my opinion, but I think he was ordered to go in and do this maintenance job with another fellow for that day. So that was an extra shift.
Okay, right. So, but this one, and the other lady we spoke with that month was the widow of Mark Stewart. Mark Stewart is a gentleman that was hit. His car was hit. His vehicle was hit, and as a result, he died. Nancy Boosfield Kennedy is his wife.
So, family's been amazing. I give Mark's sister and her family credit because they've really kept me pushed forward, my son and grandkids. And I don't think if I had that, I wouldn't be standing or actually talking to anybody because I'm done. I'm tired. It's been a road that
Nancy was, and it all came rushing in a position of just being in continuous pain as a result of this. The woman who was at the wheel of the car that hit Mark and killed him was impaired at the time. She was, in July, this is where we're flashing back to, in July she was sentenced to 3 years in jail. Whether she would actually serve that or not, we don't really know what the status of that is. But again, our collective hearts go out to those two women and to other people that have lost loved ones in 2023. One of the things I wanted to mention quickly, Kevin, before we go forward, is to this day there is a mystery been left unsolved in the disappearance of Nicholas Adamson from 2022. That is the year, correct? That we missed. It was 2022. It was the night of the night before St. Patrick's Day. So it was the night of March 16th, early hours of March 17th, 2022. That Nicholas was outside of what is the name of the pub again?
Moose and Goose.
The Moose and Goose. And went out to make a phone call apparently with a friend's phone and was never seen again. It hasn't been found to this day. And it was brought to mind to me again this morning when I walked into an establishment and there was still a missing poster still on the wall of this store. And it reminded me the number of times that we have talked about Nicholas since March of 2022. That is not that far from being 2 years ago. And not a glimmer of information as to the whereabouts of this young man. It's just...
I mean, here you see updates. This is Nicholas's mom. The NRP believe Nicholas was a victim of misadventure, that he somehow harmed himself in his quest to get home that night. He was wearing a white short-sleeve shirt that was not buttoned up. So where is any clue that this could have been the circumstance? His shirt or a shoe, a cell phone or a wallet have never been located. Not one clue as to where he traveled and got hurt have been found, nor has he. It's unbelievable, it's sad, and we miss him. And Leah, I may just be repeating what you've said, but I can't imagine the grief. I can't imagine the grief of not knowing. I think that every time as a parent you're in a mall or you're constantly looking to see is that Nicholas? Is that Nicholas?
I know. And we know that he called his mother numerous times that evening and perhaps even just before he went missing.
Yeah, that interview was just
the interview was heart-wrenching, and his mom was out searching for him and it was just... And if that, just from what you just read, they believe, with no substantiating information to that fact, but they believe, after as much investigation as they could possibly do, that some misadventure occurred at his own hand. In other words, he wandered somewhere, fell somewhere, or did something. But the searching was seemingly exhaustive, and not even a trace, not even a piece of that white shirt that he was. I mean, nothing. Not the phone that he was carrying a phone of a friend of his that he'd borrowed from inside the bar. No phone found. Nothing. Like as if, beamed up by aliens. I mean, really? I can't imagine, as you said, Kevin.
I mean, the heartache continues into 2024, and you saw that comment there from his mom saying, may 2024 be the year that we find answers. And I hope for them and all friends, families, and loved ones of Nicholas and the Adamson family that is true, that we do find something.
Yeah, let's scoot ahead quickly to August. It was rainbow time. Once again, sidewalks were vandalized, the rainbow crosswalks. And I think probably the first rainbow crosswalk, Kevin, actually WeeStreem did an unveiling, an announcent of that.
Yeah, we did a live stream that I think has been viewed more than 70,000 times with Niagara Falls. Put in
Niagara
their
Falls
rainbows.
with Mayor Diodati. And there have since been numerous rainbow crosswalks unveiled in Niagara on the Lake, St. Catharines. That's the one in St. Catharines, I believe, Kevin. Was it not? That one there?
This one here that we're looking at, that's Niagara on the Lake.
Is it? Yeah?
I could just tell by the orientation because that leads into the community center with the library and everything like that. So that's,
but then both of those crosswalks were vandalized.
Absolutely, yeah. The one in St. Catharines has been targeted
on
a couple
St.
of
Paul
times.
Street, just out here, and that one in Niagara on the Lake. So the reason we're mentioning this is the fact that we asked the question, are we inviting vandalism by visually, graphically supporting societal positions that are designed almost to get negative reaction. I'm not sure. I think I phrased that properly.
Yeah, I think you're saying, I mean, we've basically made a target.
Yeah. So yes, we should by all means somehow show our support for various groups and various initiatives and certain things in our society. But are we going about it the right way? Are these initiatives inviting conversation, or are they inviting vandalism and harm? That was the question. We don't have any answers. We didn't come up with an answer, but that was what August was about for us, because this was happening in that month, and those are the questions that still haunt us or will be with us, searching for answers as we go through 2024. September, let's roll into there. One of the, I guess, firsts, if you will, for Niagara was a sporting accomplishment. It was the Welland baseball team. Now, you wouldn't expect a highlight of a month, perhaps, as you look back over a year, to be a sports team from a municipality. But in this case, a huge event was the Welland Jackfish League Championship. And because they not only won the whole enchilada when it came to their sport, they became an entire entertainment entity for the city of Welland and the region of Niagara. And it was actually Barrie, the Barrie Bobcats that you defeated for the championship, right?
It's the Barrie Bay Cats.
Bay Cats. Geez,
Yep.
I'm really doing well with my pronunciations and my words today.
Yeah, Barrie Bay Cats. We beat them in 6 games to capture the championship, and it's an unbelievable season on and off the field, and couldn't be happier.
Now, how long has your tenure been a president? Have you been president since the beginning?
I have owned the team since 2017.
What was your motivation for owning an intercounty baseball league team? What got you into this world?
Well, originally it moved from Burlington after our 2018 season, and originally we purchased it as a hobby, something to keep us busy in the summer. We at the time didn't see it as a mega money maker or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And we ran it in Burlington for 2 years and didn't do very well there. Not a great park, not great attendance, stuff like that. So kind of had 2 options after the 2018 season. We were either going to move the team or we were going to fold it. Because I don't know about anybody else, but losing money on a hobby was not exactly our
not a good idea
thing. Not a great idea that we wanted to do. So
okay, so and one of the things that we talked to Ryan about was how they made their ball games not only about a baseball game, but about entertaining the people that went and making it a family kind of environment and exciting, not just to go and watch a baseball game, but just to be part of an event. And they have done great things, and if anybody wants to take a lesson on how to operate a sports team, or any group for that matter, but a lot of times sports people, and Kevin, I think you'll agree with me, they become navel gazers. They think so much about their sport, whether it's hockey or baseball or soccer or whatever it is. It's like, oh, it's all about the soccer. It's all about and people that want to know about us, they'll know about us and they'll follow us, etc. But no, they won't. It's like Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. Well, not necessarily. If you build it, you got to make it worthwhile. You got to invite them to come and then entertain them when they get there. And that's what the Jackfish did. And that's why we wanted to highlight them as one of our highlights of 2023, because they did that. They not only brought a great product to the baseball field, they brought a great entertainment event to the people of Niagara region. So kudos to the Jackfish for 2023.
Now, Lee, just programming, I think we're going to skip ahead here. We've got Saeed in the green room, so we'll get to him in just a second.
Yeah.
We'll skip right ahead to December, and this is actually our last program, but boy, oh boy, some vivid images from Dan, who lives on Catherine Street, where a 19-year-old was shot by an 18-year-old just outside his home.
This was one of the strangest and yet biggest and most interesting stories of the year, and it happened not that many weeks ago. And yes, Dan lives in downtown St. Catharines, across from St. Catharines Collegiate, and outside his building, a 19-year-old was shot by an 18-year-old.
No. He sure looked terrified, though.
I would think. But he was shot. He had been shot.
Yeah, he was shot 3 times.
And this is describe your building for us. It's a multi-unit structure?
Yeah, so the other downstairs unit that was uninvolved in this used to be a store and an arcade before that, and so on and so forth, but it's been converted to just residential. And then basically it's just one unit is stacked on top of that, and then there's the unit where the guy went, and then we're directly above that.
So is there like 4 separate living areas?
Yeah. Every unit has an outside door, and 3 of them have inside doors.
Okay. And how long were the police at your location?
They were there until at least 9 a.m.
Till 9.
That was when the last.
And you found out at what you said 6 a.m. that they had arrested someone in another part of the city.
Yeah.
Okay. And so two neighborhoods drastically disrupted in the night with an altercation that would only happen in our minds in a movie, but in these people's lives happen in reality. Dan lives with his wife and his children in that building, and we can't imagine what that must be like. So one of those things that we look at 2024 is, are we going to be dealing with our societal problems in a positive way, and hopefully we'll not have too many repetitions, if any, of incidents like that in our region. And we wish all of your families a safe and peaceful existence for the coming year. Kevin, the 2 things that we talked about off the top that this gentleman is going to be talking to us about are a result of some sort of battery malfunction or electrical system malfunction, and we're going to hopefully have him explain to us, because if I talk anymore, I'm going to get myself into trouble, because I'll be just talking about something I don't know what this guy does. His name is Saeed Ismail. He is an electrical forensic engineer and fire investigator. Saeed, I hope I didn't butcher your name, but welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Lee. You can hear me okay?
I can. You're coming through loud and clear. Now, clarify for our viewing and listening folks here exactly what it is you do.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you having me, first of all, on here. And prior to mentioning that, just the stories that you were mentioning were just interesting. I do hope everybody's safe and can live peacefully. I agree. As for what I do, my day-to-day is essentially fire investigations, electrical product failure forensics, and analysis, trying to basically find the cause of certain fires, failures, electrical incidents. And we're a private company, Origin and Cause. We actually are typically hired by the insurance companies for insurance claims of those natures.
What is the name of your company, Saeed?
Pardon me?
What is the name of your company?
It's actually the name of the company is Origin and Cause.
Origin and Cause,
So-
okay.
That's right. So, and typically speaks to a lot of the stuff we do. It's not the only things we do, but fire investigations are a big part of it.
Right.
And electric product failures, such as what we're about to talk about.
Okay, so you're familiar with the story in St. Catharines that resulted in a fire in St. Paul Street, as well as the one on the TTC in Toronto. Let's start with St. Catharines. What do you know?
Well, I didn't investigate this one particularly, but I do know it was a device that had lithium-ion batteries, and the whole thing with lithium-ion batteries is a big enigma that is still being figured out by everyone, including the fire departments, on how to put out a fire when these batteries go. Essentially, through time, batteries have gotten smaller and smaller, and lithium became a much bigger piece because they pack a punch. And as they're getting smaller, your devices like your phones and other things, they're getting smaller. Now they're getting bigger again. But as they're getting smaller, they need a battery that can fit that size. And they need things that pack a lot of power and energy. Now, with that comes some hazards and some risks.
Okay.
And with that also, fire suppression of these devices, when that energy is released in uncertain terms or in ways that weren't expected,
Right.
Now you got a bigger problem to deal with if fire happens.
Okay, when you say, first of all, let me go back a little bit, because a lot of people don't understand really what a lithium-ion battery is, or even if they have them in their houses. If you go back to the grassroots of knowledge, all we know is we got a thing and we plug it into a thing and it works, or it charges or whatever. What appliances, what devices do we have commonly that have lithium-ion batteries?
And that's an excellent question. I think everything under the sun will have some type of lithium at this point. So when you're talking about, lithium batteries can be in different shapes and sizes. If you have devices such as your phone, your tablet, your laptop, now they all have lithium devices that are pouches. So you will find them inside compressed to each other. Now, you can also have devices that are cordless batteries, or your trimmer. If it's cordless and it has a battery in it, that's a different kind of lithium battery. Or your cordless power drill. And then also, of course, you have the bigger ones that are prismatic, and those are going to be in electric vehicles. Or, like in that fire that we were talking about that happened on the TTC, that was a scooter that had that kind of battery. And those things can fail while they're on charge. They can fail if they're not on charge, but they have some power in them, if they're mechanically damaged. So there's different failures that can happen with it.
All right, so that was my next question, actually, is when you said that they have all this energy, and when the energy is released in a not positive way, then we have these problems. What leads to that happening? When you say it's released, are these batteries that actually malfunction, or are we not treating them properly? What can we do to keep this from happening? Because other than that, they're just ticking time bombs in our homes.
Yeah, and it's not, Lee, it's not to scare people, because if these items are treated correctly, they shouldn't have a reason to fail.
That was my point. How do we treat them? What should we do to try to prevent this?
So there are different kinds of failures that can happen to batteries. It could be mechanical, and that could be from dropping things, from misusing things. Remote control cars, those more expensive $400 ones that come with a lithium polymer battery. Some people use those and ram them into walls. You don't want to be doing that when you have a lithium battery inside something like that, even if it might seem fun. A telephone, when you drop your cell phone on the floor, that could cause mechanical damage. Now, these things have gone through some good testing and certification. If it's a reliable product, it has some type of safety functions in there to try to help protect them, but still, it's not impossible for them to be punctured, if you're charging them, you might overcharge if it's the wrong charger on a phone, for example, or a tablet. Right. If it overheats, they usually have specifications. Don't keep it around combustible items. Don't keep it trapped in a small area. So there are certain ways, and manufacturers will tell you, and you'll see all the alerts and all the kinds of cautions on this, documentation that a lot of us don't read typically.
So, well, that's a good comment right there. And a lot of us will buy something and you don't read the cautionary tones or safe for safe use, etc. So we should read that stuff first of all. Now, and before we go too far into this and run out of time, there's also some talk, and it's been unconfirmed, that the fire in St. Catharines may have also been related to an e-bike style device. And the one in the TTC was an e-bike that created that fire. So can you tell us, are you more familiar with that one? Can you tell us how that happened?
Again, that when the issue with these kind of batteries, when they fail, it's not easy to figure out what made it fail.
Okay.
So in that situation, we just know it's a battery failure,
Okay.
and it could have been from mechanical damage. It could have been, obviously, I don't think on the TTC, I don't think it was charging at the time.
Okay.
So, but that doesn't mean it hasn't experienced some kind of damage while it was in use.
All right. When, to use your terms, these batteries fail, normally, if we would think a battery is going to fail, it would just stop working. What causes them to ignite or cause a fire?
That's another good question. So when a battery is punctured, to put things basically in layman's terms, there is a chemical reaction that happens from the components within the battery.
Okay.
And there's a positive and negative side. If the positive introduces to the negative side, that's bad news. So when you puncture it, there's a separator between them that's pretty thin. And if something happens to that and these two areas of chemicals get introduced to each other, that will release a massive, large amount of energy that's not intended to be released. And it can basically almost blow up.
So it's a little bit like crossing the terminals on a car battery or something when, and bringing things in contact that shouldn't be in contact with one another.
That's correct. I mean, it's the analogy. It makes sense. It's different type of failure, but
Yes.
Obviously, that's exactly what it is. It's two things not supposed to be connected or contacted with each other.
All right. So lesson number one is make sure that we understand what we're using and read all about it. Lesson number two would be care of these things. We should not take them for granted and make sure that they're properly maintained. Is that also part of a normal instruction manual or whatever when we buy something with these things?
Definitely. I mean, you first of all, always use the product with its proper charging device. That's 100% on any of these batteries, any device that has some kind of battery, whether it's lithium or not. You never use a charger with a different type of phone
Okay.
or with a different e-bike or any type. Secondly, take care of the product. And thirdly, make sure your product is properly approved. So there's Canadian approval, and I have some links that I can share that have where you can check approval of a certain product and make sure that it is properly, because when something is approved, it's properly tested. And
Okay.
it shouldn't theoretically overcharge, and it should be more robust.
Kevin, can we share those links somehow at some point in time on Niagara 411? Okay, so
Yeah, I can send them over.
Saeed, you send those links to us or to Kevin or whatever, and we'll make sure we get them up on Niagara 411 for everybody. Okay?
Sounds good. And actually, I have one link from Underwriters Laboratories where they did a test on a hoverboard and made it fail, and you can actually see the amount of energy that's exerted. So I'll share that link as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate what you do. Thanks for being here, Saeed, Ishmael, and we'll scoot for now. But I hope you don't have too many things to investigate next year.
Really appreciate it, Lee. Thank you for having me, and
All right.
they keep coming.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks.
Take care.
I think we may use him as a resource, Kevin, over the next year for whatever things may come about. Interesting guy. Well, that just about does it for Niagara 411 Live retrospective of the year that was. Pretty busy one.
Now, Lee, here's something interesting. We might have the photographic evidence. So remember at the beginning of the show when we walked out to the street level and you were there on your phone,
Yes.
we had that big wide load mucking its way down
The
St.
wide
Paul.
load, yes, it had flashing lights, and yeah.
As you see outside right now, it looks like those are Hydro or City Crews
Yes.
that are there because one of the poles got bent over.
When the wide load went down?
I don't know. That's what I wonder.
Because they were watching it pretty carefully. When I was out on the phone with the office staff, I was watching this thing come down, and they were watching very carefully to make sure that this massive, what looked like a construction hut or whatever it was coming down the street, and it was just clearing the lights, the holiday lights that were strung across the street.
So I don't know, and I didn't hear anything. You would think for a big metal pole like that to bend that it would make quite a racket. But anyway, we can watch that while we listen to some music from who today?
Yes, we are from who? From Strange Love. I even took note of that. We are listening to play us off the stage for this first show of season 5, Strange Love. The song is called "And I." And most of it was shot there from Niagara and other areas as well, but predominantly around Niagara. Shot, for all intents and purposes, around the Laura Secord House.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, in Niagara. Gales Gaspar's Virgin Insurance, Ace Alignment, thank you for being part of our show. Kevin, Jack, welcome to 2024. Thank you. This has been a new look for Niagara 411 Live with Lee Sterry. Let us know what you think of it, because once again, we're trying to keep up with technology and see what works and what doesn't, and let us know what does and what doesn't. Either way, we're happy to have you here. Strange Love and I. Have yourselves a great first weekend of 2024.